Splendid instructions to the mind by Raghunath Das Goswami. And we are on verse number 5, commentary by Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj. In his purport to verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 6:24, Ramanujacharya explained this point in a very interesting way. He says that there are two kinds of desires, those generated by the mind and those arising from contact between the senses and the sense objects. Desire generated by the mind can be easy to give up by using the mind. For example, our desire for mundane relationship, because we are enjoying through this relationship, is one of the first things we should give up, understanding that they are temporary and ultimately unbeneficial. When death is upon us, no one from among our many relationships can help at that point. Even if we have children, they cannot help us. Even if there is a loving wife, still no one can help us. We are face to face with the terrible problems resulting from our karma. At that point, we can cling to the tiny island of Krishna consciousness that we have, and we start chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then we can rise above all material desires. This is the advice that Krishna gives. He says that with the help of your mind, ponder over the futility and uselessness of all these material pleasures, because ultimately you do not need them. They are not going to save you. Further on, Ramanujacharya says that we should give up the enjoyment arising from the contact between the senses and their objects. Also, by reflecting on the fact that despite all our efforts, we have not got anything in the end. This gang of thugs has been friends with us over a long time. So much so that generally we have almost become a member of that gang. Raghunath Das Goswami says, Prakamham Kamadi Prakata. They have appeared out of nowhere and are led by Kam. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna calls this enemy of our Kamarupa Durashada. Kamarupa means an enemy in the form of a lust. But Kamarupa also means a goal, Ghoul. I hope I pronounced properly. Kamarupa means one who can take any form he wishes. Kam means desire and Rupa means form. So this Kamarupa is the main enemy of the living being, especially the living being who is trying to attain a spiritual nature and has taken to the spiritual path. Sometimes lust comes to us in an undisguised form, but it may also come to us as a Vaishnava with a tilak and a bead saying, let's chant. Because sometimes a person engages in spiritual practice for the sake of some mundane fruits. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Na dhanam na janam, na sundarim kavitam va jagat isha kamaye. I want neither money nor followers, nor beautiful woman, kavitam. Neither do I want respect, I want nothing. So Kam generates four types of anarthas. Those generated by sinful activities, by pious activity, by offenses, and those generated by bhakti. All these things represent obstacles to our bhajan. So we will continue reading wonderful instructions from our Acharya. Now we will be reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, who had dedicated completely his life to fulfill the desire of his Guru Maharaj. We are on volume number 3, chapter title, Swami Invites the Hippies. I'll read few lines to bring up to the speed what we read yesterday. Prabhupada's thoughtful followers felt that some of the candidates for initiation did not intend to fulfill the exclusive lifelong commitment a disciple owes to his Guru, Swamiji. They would say, some of these people come only for their initiation. We have never seen them before, and we never seen them again. Srila Prabhupada replied that was the risk he had to take. One day in a lecture in temple, he explained that although the reaction for a disciple past sins are removed at initiation, the spiritual master remains responsible until the disciple is delivered from the material world. Even they may have to be ready to come life after life. Therefore, it's a very serious vow to accept the disciple. You must be ready to come many, many lives. Therefore, he said Chaitanya warned that Guru should not accept many disciples. This is the instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One night in the temple during the question, so we are now continuing. One night in the temple during the question and answer session, a big bearded fellow raised his hand and asked Prabhupada, can I become initiated? The brash public request annoyed some of Prabhupada's followers, but Prabhupada was serene. Yes, he replied, but first you must answer 2 questions. Who is Krishna? The boy thought for a moment and said, Krishna is God. Yes, Prabhupada replied. And who are you? Again the boy thought for a few moments and then replied, I am the servant of God. Very good, Prabhupada said. Yes, you can be initiated tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada knew that it would be difficult for his Western disciple to stick to Krishna consciousness and attain the goal of pure devotional service. All their lives they had the worst of training, and despite their nominal Christianity and philosophical searching, most of them knew nothing of the science of God. They did not even know that illicit sex and meat eating were wrong, although when he told them, they accepted what he said. And they freely chanted Hare Krishna. So how could he refuse them? Of course, whether they would be able to persevere in Krishna consciousness despite the ever-present attractions of Maya would be seen in time. Some would fall. That was the human tendency. But some would not. At least those who sincerely follow his instructions to chant Hare Krishna and avoid sinful activities would be successful. He gave the example that a person could say that today's fresh food is not properly used, would spoil in a few days. But if it is fresh now, to say that in the future it will be misused and therefore spoil is only a surmise. Yes, in the future anyone could fall down, but Prabhupada took it as his responsibility to engage his disciple now. And he was giving them the methods which is followed would protect them from ever falling down. Aside from Vedic standards, even by the standard of Swamiji's, New York disciples, the devotees in San Francisco, were not very strict. Some continue going to the donut shop, eating food without offering to Krishna, and eating forbidden things like chocolate and commercial ice cream. Some even indulge in after kirtan cigarette breaks right outside the temple door. Some got initiated without knowing precisely what they had agreed to practice. So Kirtananda Maharaj is writing in his own words as follows. The mood in San Francisco was a lot more relaxed. The devotees liked to go to the corner and have their coffee and donuts. But Prabhupada loved the way so many people were coming. And he loved the program at the Avalon Ballroom. But there were two sides. Those who strictly follow the rules and regulations and emphasize purity, and then those who were not so concerned about strictness, but who wanted to spread Krishna consciousness as widely as possible. And Swamiji was so great that he embraced both groups. Michael Wright, 21, had recently gotten out of the Marine Corps, and Nancy Grindle, 18, was fresh out of the high school. They had met in college in Los Angeles, feeling frustrated and in need of something tangible to which to dedicate their lives. They had come to San Francisco to join the hippies. But they soon realized that they and the Haight-Ashbury hippies, whom they found dirty, aimless, unproductive, and lost in their search for identity, had little in common. So Nancy took a job as a secretary for the telephone company, and Michael found work as a lineman for the electric company. Then they heard about the Swami in Haight-Ashbury and decided to visit the temple. It was an evening kirtan, and the irrepressible hippies were twirling, twisting, and wiggling. Michael and Nancy took a seat on the floor up to one side, impressed more by the presence of the Swami than by the kirtan. After the kirtan, Prabhupada lectured, but they found his accent heavy. They wanted to understand. They had an innate feeling that he was saying something valuable. And yet, the secret seems locked behind a thick accent and within a book written in another language. They decided to come back in the morning and try again. At the morning program, they found a smaller group, a dozen devotees with beads for chanting drapes around their necks, a few street people. The kirtan seemed sweeter and more mellow, and Michael and Nancy chanted and danced along with the devotees. Then Prabhupada spoke, and this time they caught a few of his ideas. They stayed for breakfast and become friends with Mukunda and Janki. Shyam and Marjorie, now Shyam Sundar and Malti, Yamuna and Gurudas, and Govinda Dasi and Gaura Sundar. They liked the devotees and promised to come again that evening. Soon they were regularly attending the morning and evening programs. And Nancy, along with the other woman, was attending Prabhupada's weekend cooking class. Michael was open to Prabhupada's ideas, but he had difficulty accepting the necessity of surrendering to a spiritual authority. His tendency was to reject authorities. But the more he thought about it, the more he saw that Prabhupada was right. We have to accept the authority. He reasoned, quote, every time I stop at a red light, I'm accepting an authority, unquote. And finally he concluded that to progress in spiritual understanding, he would have to accept a spiritual authority. Yet, because he didn't want to accept it, he was in a dilemma. Finally, after hearing Prabhupada lectures for 2 weeks, Michael decided to surrender to Prabhupada's authority and try to become Krishna conscious. So Michael is explaining in his own word as follows. Nancy and I decided to get married and become Swamiji's disciple and member of his society. We told some of the devotees, quote, we would like to see Swamiji. They said, quote, yes, just go up. He is on the third floor, unquote. We were a little surprised that there were no formalities required. And when we got to the door, his servant Ranchor let us in. We went in with our shoes on, so Ranchor had to ask us to take them off. I didn't know exactly what to say to Swamiji. I was depending on my future wife to make the initial opening. But then I finally said, quote, we came because we would like to become member of your Krishna Conscious Society, unquote. He said this was very nice. Then I said that actually the main reason we were there was that we wanted to be married. We knew that he performed marriage ceremonies and that it was part of the society's requirement that couple had to be duly married before they could live together. Swamiji asked me if I liked the philosophy and if I had a job. My answer to both questions was yes. He explained that first of all, we would have to be initiated and then we could be married the next month. At their initiation, Michael received the name Dayanand and Nancy received the name Nandarani. Soon, Prabhupada performed their marriage. Nandarani is explaining her feeling in the following words. We knew it would be a very big wedding. In Height Asbury, whenever Swamiji would perform a wedding ceremony, hundreds of people would come and the temple would be filled. My parents were coming and Dayananda's parents were also coming. Swamiji said that it was proper that I cook. He said I should come to his apartment on the morning of the wedding and he would help me cook something for the wedding feast. So that morning I put on my best jeans and my best sweatshirt and my boots. and I went up to Swami's apartment. When I got upstairs, I walked in with my boots on. Swamiji was sitting there in his rocking chair. He smiled at me and said, "Oh, you have come to cook?" I said, "Yes." He sat there and looked at me, one of those long silent stares. He said, quote, "First take off the boots," unquote. After I took off my boots and my old leather jacket, Swamiji got up and went into the kitchen. He got a very large pot that had been burned so thick on the bottom that practically there was no metal visible. He handed to me and said, quote, "We want to boil milk in this pot. It has to be washed," unquote. There wasn't a sink in Swamiji's kitchen, only teeny round basin. So I went into the bathroom, put the pot in the bathtub, and rinsed it out. I assumed Swamiji didn't want the black of the bottom because it was burned on. So I brought it back to him, and he said, quote, "Oh, that is very clean, but just take off this little black on the bottom here," unquote. I said, "Okay," and got a knife and crawled into the bathtub and started scrubbing the black off. I worked and worked and worked, and I scrubbed and scrubbed. I had cleanser up to my elbow, and I made a mess everywhere. I had gotten about half the black off, and the rest seemed to be more or less an integral part of the bottom. So I took the pot back to Swamiji and said, quote, "This is the best I can do. All of this is burnt on." He said, quote, "Yes, yes, you are done. You have done a wonderful job. Now just take up this black that's left," unquote. So I went back into the bathtub and scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed. It was almost midday when I came out of the bathtub with all the black scrubbed off the bottom of the pot. He was so happy when I brought the pot in. It was sparkly. A big smile came on his face and said, "Oh, this is perfect." I was exhausted. Then Swamiji welcomed me into his kitchen and taught me how to make a rasgulla. We boiled the milk, curdled it, and then I sat down and began rolling the curd into balls on a tray. As I rolled the balls, I would put them in a little row along the tray, and every single ball had to be exactly the same size. Swamiji would take his thumb and first and second finger and shoot the ball out of the row when they were on the right size. Some devotees has unmuted Yugal Priti Mataji and Purvi Mataji. Please keep unmuted, and also Kamlesh Nindra Mataji. Hari Bol. Please be attentive.
Sorry, I was muted.
No, I muted you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This was one until a full tray of balls of the same size. How detailed Prabhupada is, that's what we have to learn. We are just reading that size should be the perfect. And Prabhupada rejected all which was not perfect. Everything has to go in details. Then Swamiji showed me how to boil the balls of curd in sugar water. Malti, Janki, and I were cooking in the kitchen. and Swamiji was singing. At one point, Swamiji stopped singing and asked me, quote, "Do you know what your name means?" I couldn't even remember what my name was. He had told me at initiation, but because none of us used our devotee names, I couldn't remember what mine was. I said, quote, "No, Swamiji, what does my name meant?" He said, quote, "It means you are the mother of Krishna," unquote. And he laughed loudly and went back to stirring the rasgullas. I couldn't understand who Krishna was, who in the world his mother would be. So how I was in any way related to her. But I was satisfied that Swamiji felt that I was somebody worth being. I finished cooking that afternoon about 4 o'clock. Very well. And then I went home to get dressed for the wedding. Although I had never worn anything but old dresses and jeans, Swamiji has suggested to the other ladies that they find a way to put me into a sari for the wedding. So we bought a piece of silk to use for a sari. I went to Malti's house. She was going to try to help me put it on. I couldn't keep it on, so she had to sew it on me. Then they decorated me with flowers and took me to Swamiji and showed him. He was very happy and he said, quote, "This is the way our woman should always look. No more jeans and dresses. They should always wear saris." Actually, I looked a fright. I kept stumbling and they had to sew the cloth on me. But Swamiji thought it was wonderful. The cloth was all one color. So Swamiji said, quote, "Next time you should buy cloth that has a little border on the bottom. So it's two colors. I like two colors better." Very good, unquote. When we went downstairs to the wedding, Swamiji met my relatives. He spoke to them very politely. My mother cried a lot during the ceremony. I was very satisfied that she had been blessed by meeting Swamiji. Steve Bohlat, age 20, born and raised in New York and now living the hippiest life in San Francisco, had read in the Oracle about Swami Bhaktivedanta coming to San Francisco. The idea of meeting an Indian Swami had interested him and responded to a notice he had seen posted on the Hyde Street. He had gone along with Caroline Gold, the woman he was living with, to the airport to meet Swami Bhaktivedanta. He and Caroline had both gotten a blissful lift by chanting Hare Krishna and saying Srila Prabhupada. And they began regularly attending the lectures and kirtan at the temple. Steve decided he wanted to become like the Swami. So he and Caroline went together to see Prabhupada and request initiation. Speaking privately with Prabhupada in his room, they discussed obedience to the spiritual master and becoming vegetarian. When Prabhupada told them that they should either stop living together or get married, they said they would like to get married, and initiation day was set. Prabhupada asked Steve to shave his long hair and beard. Why do you want me to shave my head? Steve protested. Quote, Krishna had long hair, Ram had long hair, Lord Chaitanya had long hair, and Christ had long hair. Why should I shave my head? Prabhupada smiled and replied, quote, because now you are following me, unquote. There was a print on the wall of Surdas, a Vaishnava. Quote, you should shave your head like that, unquote, Prabhupada said, pointing to Surdas. Quote, I don't think I'm ready to do that yet, Steve said. Quote, all right, you are still a young man. There is still a time. But at least you should shave your face clean and cut your hair like a man, unquote. On the morning of the initiation, Steve shaved off his beard and cut his hair around his ear so that it was short in front but long in the back. How is this? He asked. Quote, you should cut the back also, unquote. Prabhupada replied, and Steve agreed. To Steve, Prabhupada gave the name Shubhal, and to Caroline the name Krishna Devi. A few days later, he performed their wedding. Since each ceremony was another occasion for kirtan and prasadam distribution, onlookers become attracted. And as the spiritual names and married couple increase with each ceremony, Prabhupada's spiritual family grew. The harmonious atmosphere was like that of a small, loving family, and Prabhupada dealt with his disciple intimately without the formalities of an institution or this word I can pronounce, hierarchy, Hierarchy. Can somebody can pronounce so I can next time pronounce nicely? Okay, I'll ask my daughter. Disciple would approach him for various reasons, entering the little apartment to be alone with him as he sat on a mat before his makeshift desk in the morning sunlight. I know the meaning, but I cannot pronounce the word. With men like Mukunda, Gurudas, and Shyamsundar, Swamiji was a friend. With Janki and Govindadasi, he was sometimes ready to be chided, almost like their naughty son, or he would be their grandfatherly teacher of cooking, the enforcer of the rules of the kitchen cleanliness. And to all of them, he was the unfathomable pure devotee of Lord Krishna. He knew the conclusions of all the Vedic scriptures, and he knew beyond all doubts the truths of transmigration. He could answer all questions. He could lead them beyond material life, beyond height as per a hippie's town, and into the spiritual world with Krishna. So I think we have come to a point. We should be punctual. Let's stop here and see. Before the devotees leave, we would like to offer our humble obeisances at the dusk of this wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who take austerity to join and support us. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhaya cha patitanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So thank you very much for joining. If anybody has any question, comment, corrections, or chastisement. The right time that came. Okay, there is no further discussion. So I think we should stop here.